Water has always been his lifeblood, says fisherman Faustin Pamba. He and his family live on Ukerewe, the biggest island in Lake Victoria. The family also have a few fields they farm, but the island is small, so yields are minimal. It's early in the morning and Pamba wants to show us the beach and why he fears for his livelihood.
It's difficult feeding my family, paying for housing and clothes. When someone falls ill, it's hard to get them treated. There's no money because there's no fish anymore.
Pamba takes over the boat from other fishermen who've just returned from an 18-hour fishing trip. They share the meager catch. Pamba tells us that it's more or less worth nothing, as is so often the case these days. Nile perch has traditionally been one of Tanzania's main exports to Europe. The beach is gradually filling up with the traders and villagers who will sell the fish at the local market. Nile perch can grow up to 2 meters long, so these are relatively tiny.
This fish is too young. It's too small to be sold to the plants according to regulations. But we artisan fishermen don't have the means to catch the bigger ones. In order to get the bigger ones, you need nets that cost 200,000 Tanzanian shillings. I can't afford that. So we have to use small-sized nets that only catch these immature fish. It's getting more and more difficult to catch the larger Nile perch.
Close-meshed nets are actually banned by law, but they're still widely used, not just by Faustin Pamba. This Nile perch is a normal size, which is 50 centimeters long. The fishermen take their catch to the BMU, the Beach Management Unit. Here they're weighed and sold on to middlemen. The local fishermen have set up organizations to control fishing practices, promote sustainable fishing, and tackle illegal fishing. It's a challenging task. Despite the government push for sustainable fishing, the head of this BMU complains that fishermen have not been given any financial incentives. The BMUs are shutting down because fish stocks are dwindling and the pressures have become too great.
Even if it meant we'd be threatened, if the government gave us more support and provided us with motorboats so we could go out on patrols against illegal fishing, we'd be ready to work.
The locals' first priority is to make a living. This Nile perch goes through 3 middlemen on its way to the fish processing factory. In the past, it would have taken 2 days to fill a truck. Now it can take up to 3 weeks. But the fishermen have ways and means of catching larger Nile perch. These men are repairing nets. In fact, that's not all they're doing. They're sewing nets together to make them bigger. Nets this size are actually illegal.
You can't get much out of the lake with single net fishing methods anymore, but when you stitch 3 or more nets together, you can cover a large area, from the top right down to the bottom of the lake.
In Mwanza, Nile perch is known as white gold. It's even the emblem of the regional capital. Nile perch export has been a flourishing industry for nearly 20 years, providing both foreign investors and the Tanzanian state with a reliable source of income. According to the regional fisheries officer, licenses bring in an average €2 million a year. But for how much longer? What's the government doing to tackle the problem of overfishing?
There's a common understanding within the governments of Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania that once we eliminate illegal fishing, there will be plenty of fish in the lake again. And let me tell you, the measures we've already taken, despite limited resources, have actually led to an increase of Nile perch by 100,000 tons.
So why are the fish processing factories struggling? Nile perch numbers in Lake Victoria have dropped dramatically in the last 10 years, from 2 million to 370,000 tons. After lengthy talks, a few workers are willing to speak on camera. They say that all the factories in Mwanza are producing far below capacity. They come to work every day, but there's no fish to process.
From January until now, we haven't received our salaries. How can you survive like this in this town? We will become thieves. We don't want that.
Back on Ukerewe Island, the consequences are obvious. More and more fishermen are giving up. Faustin Pamba is trying to remain optimistic. Today, he and a few others set off on a fishing trip in the afternoon.
I think only a miracle of God can make the fish plentiful again. Otherwise, it'll never be the same again.
Another 3 hours of paddling and a night at sea. These days, his hard work is for nothing.